Have you ever felt that deep, hollow emptiness after bending yourself to someone else's will? You smile, you nod, you sacrifice, all to keep the peace. But in the quiet moments, a question arises. Why do I feel less like myself with every approval I seek? Pleasing others can feel like a path to harmony, but Carl Jung warned us about the insidious nature of this behavior. It's not just about a loss of self. It's about an internal fracture that slowly undermines your sense of purpose, identity, and even your very soul. The cost of this constant accommodation is greater than you may realize. Carl Jung's concept of the shadow is one of his most profound insights into the human psyche. The shadow represents the unconscious aspects of ourselves that we repress in an attempt to conform to societal expectations. When you constantly seek approval, you are, in essence, feeding this shadow, hiding away parts of yourself that feel unacceptable to the outside world. These hidden parts are not inherently bad, but they contain the raw, authentic power of your true self. The pursuit of approval becomes a coping mechanism for the discomfort of rejection. By seeking validation from others, we allow ourselves to lose sight of our internal compass, our desires, and ultimately our soul's deepest needs. However, it's only by acknowledging and integrating this shadow, bringing awareness to these hidden aspects, that we can begin to truly know ourselves. Jung believed that wholeness and authenticity come from the integration of the shadow, not its suppression. It's not an easy process, but it is the path to profound self-discovery. The more you stop pleasing others, the more you begin to recognize the vastness of your own identity, and in that recognition, you find your truth. A truth that does not depend on external validation but on an inner knowing of who you really are. One of the most insidious forces that drives the need to please is the fear of rejection. This fear is so deeply embedded in our psyche that it can dictate our actions in ways we don't even realize. Jung understood that human beings have an intrinsic need for connection, and with that, a tendency to shape themselves to fit into social frameworks. This, however, comes at the expense of our own authenticity. When you are driven by the fear of rejection, your actions are motivated by the desire to avoid disapproval, a deep, unconscious avoidance of emotional pain. But what happens when this fear governs your choices? You begin to shape yourself into someone you are not. You become a mirror, reflecting the expectations of others but never truly revealing your own image. Letting go of this fear is not an easy task, but it is essential for psychological liberation. Jung spoke about the necessity of facing discomfort in order to transcend it. When you stop fearing rejection, you reclaim your authentic power. You can make choices that align with your values and not the ever-changing tides of others' opinions. This reclamation of power is the beginning of your journey towards individuation, the process by which you become your true self. It's about acknowledging that you cannot control how others perceive you, and ultimately, that their approval is not the key to your happiness. The false self is a construct we create to meet the demands and expectations of the world around us. It is an identity built on the approval of others, shaped by the need to be liked, admired, or accepted. The more we engage in this pattern of pleasing others, the more the false self solidifies and the authentic self recedes into the background. Jung's concept of the persona, the social mask we wear, is essential to understanding the false self. While the persona serves an important function in society, it should not become the entirety of who we are. The persona becomes a trap when we begin to identify with it too strongly, thinking that it is who we are. In truth, the persona is only a part of the self, and by over-identifying with it, we lose touch with our core. When you are constantly pleasing others, you begin to live through the lens of the persona, losing touch with your inner world. This false self grows stronger, while your authentic desires, emotions, and passions fade away. It's a slow, gradual process, but eventually, the gap between who you are and who you pretend to be becomes unbearable. The dissonance between these two selves creates anxiety, dissatisfaction, and a profound sense of emptiness. To break free from this trap, You must learn to discern between the false self and the true self. This requires self-awareness, introspection, and the courage to live authentically, to stand in the fullness of who you truly are, regardless of how it is perceived by others. It's only by living authentically that you can begin to heal the fractures caused by the false self. At the heart of pleasing others lies a betrayal of your own values. Every time you suppress your true feelings, desires, and beliefs to fit in, you erode your integrity. Jung believed that psychological wholeness could only be achieved when the self was in harmony with its deepest values and principles. When you compromise those values for the sake of approval, you not only diminish your authenticity, but also destabilize your inner peace. The cost of personal integrity is high, but the rewards of living with integrity are immeasurable. Integrity is the foundation of self-respect. It is the quiet voice that tells you when you have acted in accordance with your deepest truth. Without it, you will continue to live inauthentically, seeking fulfillment in places where it cannot be found. Living with integrity requires courage. It means saying no when you want to please, and it means standing firm in your convictions even when others might disagree. But it is through these acts of self-respect that you begin to rebuild the fractured self, step by step. Jung's concept of individuation emphasizes the importance of becoming whole by embracing all parts of yourself, including your values, beliefs, and desires. When you live according to your values, you align yourself with a higher purpose, one that transcends the fleeting opinions of others. Your actions become a reflection of your true self, and you experience a deep sense of fulfillment that cannot be achieved through the constant pursuit of external approval. At its core, the need to please others is an illusion of control. You believe that by shaping yourself to meet others' expectations, you can influence their perceptions, thoughts, and feelings. This desire for control is rooted in the fear of rejection, but it is ultimately futile. You cannot control how others see you, nor should you want to. Jung believed that true freedom arises from releasing the need to control external factors. When you stop trying to manage how others perceive you, you free yourself from the anxiety and stress of constant approval seeking. It is only when you let go of this illusion of control that you begin to live authentically, unburdened by the weight of others' expectations. The process of letting go is not easy. It requires you to relinquish the need for validation and to trust that your worth does not depend on external approval. This shift is liberating. It allows you to live a life guided by your own values, passions, and truths. You stop living for others and start living for yourself. By embracing this freedom, you reclaim your power. You step into the fullness of your own being, liberated from the prison of others' opinions. And in this liberation, you find the strength to stand firmly in your own truth, unapologetically and with deep conviction. Pleasing others is a habit, and like all habits, it creates a cycle. The more you seek approval, the more you rely on external validation, and the more anxiety you experience. Anxiety stems from the fear that you will not be enough, that you will fail to meet others' expectations. This cycle perpetuates itself, creating a loop of stress and self-doubt that is difficult to break. Jung understood that repression, the act of suppressing one's true feelings and desires, leads to anxiety. When you repress your authentic self to meet others' needs, you are essentially denying your own truth. This denial creates inner conflict, which manifests as anxiety. The more you live for others, the more this anxiety tightens its grip. Breaking the cycle of anxiety requires you to shift your focus from external validation to internal peace. It means accepting that you cannot control others' reactions and learning to trust that your worth does not depend on approval. As you begin to embrace your true self and live authentically, the anxiety starts to dissipate. The cycle is broken, and in its place you find a deeper sense of calm and fulfillment. Individuation, according to Carl Jung, is the process of becoming who you truly are. It is the journey toward wholeness, where you integrate both the light and dark aspects of your psyche. This process is not easy, It requires you to confront your deepest fears, desires, and contradictions, but it is the only path that leads to true psychological health and fulfillment. When you stop pleasing others and start living authentically, you embark on the path of individuation. You begin to reclaim the parts of yourself that were hidden in the shadow, and you integrate them into your conscious identity. This process of integration leads to a more complete and authentic self. Individuation is not about becoming someone else. It is about becoming fully yourself. It is the journey of self-realization, where you shed the false self and step into the fullness of your being. By embracing your true self, free from the need for external approval, you unlock your full potential and experience a sense of peace and fulfillment that can never be found through pleasing others. If you've ever felt trapped between your truth and the expectations of others, this is the video for you. If you're ready to explore why the need to please others might be quietly eroding your sense of self, then subscribe and join our journey toward deeper awareness. Let's walk together on the path to reclaim your true identity. Leave a comment with your thoughts below, and your reflections matter.